Hello. One thing I like about wreaths is we can just like move this around and stitch. So let me get my phone on Do Not Disturb. We are gonna work on this greenery down at the bottom today. So I'm just gonna stitch one. So we're gonna do this greenery right here, and then there's another one up at the top. So I'm just gonna stitch this one, and then I'm gonna let you stitch the second one on your own. Sorry, I'm just getting this tightened in here. Okay, so we're gonna do this one today. So let's get out. Sorry, I didn't put my thread away yesterday. Hold on, let me put this away. Okay, so we are gonna use the lightest green, the 988, right there. So you could use, I'm gonna use 6 strands, just because we've been doing more strands, so let's stick with it, okay? So again, always pulling from the number end. We are gonna start there. Okay. Now, if you want to do fewer strands, you totally can. 3 or 4 would work just great. I have one that's like not wanting to go in the needle right there on the end. Okay. So what we're gonna do first is we're gonna do a back stitch all the way up the stem, and then we're gonna work our way back down for the leaves. Okay, so a back stitch is another like use all the time kind of stitch, like a satin stitch. It can be done a variety of ways. You can use it in a bunch of different ways. It is very versatile. So I've got my knot in the back, I'm starting at the bottom, and then what we're gonna do is just stitch a line all the way up the top. Now you could do stitches just one in between each of the leaves if you wanted. I'll do that as we get a little bit further up, but down here I'm gonna do these. I still have some green back here, hold on. I didn't cut that off, okay. So with a back stitch, the biggest thing you're wanting to do is to make sure that your stitches are the same length. Most of the time I would say that. Since we're doing a stem, I usually do a stitch between each of my leaves, but these start out big and then they get smaller. So these ones down here, I'm gonna do a little bit smaller, and then I'll start doing one in between once we get going. So with a back stitch, you start at the bottom and make 1 stitch forward, and then we back stitch the rest. So we go forward a stitch and move backwards. And we do that all the way. So we come forward a stitch and then down. So these are sharing a hole because then they'll be connected instead of like down next to it. Would make it so that there's a gap between our stitches, which we don't want. Okay, I think I'm gonna do one more with 2 stitches between the leaves. And then I'll just start doing 1. really like to have a break in my stitching, like right here where my leaves are gonna connect with the stem, because I feel like it makes it look a little bit more cohesive. So you could totally just back stitch this and make all your stitches the same length, and not worry about where your stitches break. I personally like to have my leaves connect my stem where I have a stitch. So it's kind of a little guide as I'm working. Okay, so there's a back stitch. And then we're gonna come back up and do the leaves. So what we're gonna do is do kind of just a straight stitch or a leaf stitch. I don't think it's technically called a leaf stitch, but I use it for leaves a lot. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna do a straight stitch for the center, and then we're gonna go back up to the top and go just to the side of this stitch. So it's like almost underneath it. It's just down a little and over a little. Whoop, I pulled my needle back out, hold on. And then we're gonna go back down into this same hole. And then we're gonna do that on the other side. And the same hole again. And then this is where you need to decide. Do you want your leaf to be a little bit thicker? Do you want to keep it as 3 stitches? I'm gonna go ahead and do a 4th and a 5th. So I'm just gonna do the same thing. I'm gonna come down a little and over a little and make these just a little bit thicker. Okay. Now once we start getting a lot of stitches in these holes, especially if we're using 6 strands, it gets a little bit harder to pull through. So if you're having a hard time pulling your needle through these, feel free to move down to like 4 strands instead of 6, because it'll be easier to share these holes, especially when we start getting 2 leaves in there. It'll be easier to pull your needle through that hole. Now some of these I'm just gonna do 3, like that one looks good enough. So I am just gonna leave that, and I'm gonna come over here and do the next one. Once we get down to the bottom, I might even do like 7 stitches. But that's it. That's what we're gonna do all the way down to the bottom. Now sometimes like this is technically where I drew it, but I think I want to come out a little bit more. I've talked about ghost lines with these heat erasable pens, but so technically we won't exactly cut, like if you go off your drawn pattern a little bit, it will, like if you looked really carefully, you could probably see these ghost lines, like if we erased it right now, but there's enough stitching going on around it, it won't really make a difference. So I'm not gonna worry about that. I think I want that one just a little bit thicker. Now you don't have to do an autumn out. I think I'm just gonna do one on this side, but not the other. Just so it's a little bit more rounded on that side. Another trick, if you're having a hard time getting your thread through that hole, when you're doing the little sides of your leaf, you can come down, like kind of go under that stitch. So you're not you're not going in that hole again, but you're kind of going like under this stitch next to it. So then it looks like it's in that same hole, but it might be a little bit easier to pull it through. just because that's getting to be really thick with thread. Even I'm having a hard time pulling my needle through. Let's see if I can put it down somewhere else. There we go. See, I have these pointed up too much. I need them to go out or else they'll start to run together. But that's why patterns are a guide. They're not, you don't, for leaves and stuff like that, like they don't have to be exact. What do we think? Do we like this one? How are your pumpkins looking? I had somebody message me and be like, I'm already behind. But let me just tell you, this is a work at your own speed. If you need to take a little bit longer than I take, that's okay. You don't have to stitch as quickly as I do or as quickly as other people. This is meant to be fun and relaxing. So if you're not having fun because you're trying to do it too quickly, then just take it a little slower. These ones that are closer together, I like having just 3 or 4 stitches so that they don't take over too much of the space around them. Oh. I can't pull that one through. It's also a little different, like when I'm holding it in my hand versus when it's in a hoop stand. I only stitch with a hoop stand during stitch-alongs or if I'm doing a lot of French knots. Sorry, I keep bumping this. Well, I'm not really bumping it. I just have my hands on my elbows on my table and it rocks my camera. I thought this was a nice green to kind of break up the more like dark and moody colors that come with fall. Like that last plant that holds on to its summer green. Okay, so here's where I did like 2 stitches between the leaves. I'm going to start making these a little bit wider. Yeah. That's about where they're starting to get further apart, so it's a good spot to start to make those leaves a little thicker. right, this is my last stitch. I gotta get some more thread. Okay. So cute. Okay, let me flip this over and tie this off real quick. I don't remember if I tied this off. I don't think I did. So this is my other way. I did this the first day. Take half of the strands and tie a knot and maybe double or triple knot it just because I always worry. I don't know why I think it's gonna come undone, but okay. Let me get some more thread out real quick. If you're doing fewer than 6 strands, you'll probably be able to do more stitches as well. Like instead of doing like the 1 and 2 on each side so instead of like the 5 stitches, you might be able to do like 7 or 9 or something. Just depends on how you want it to end up looking. Do you want it to be a little bit thinner? Do you want it to be a little bit extra? Let's see if I can get that in there. There we go. Okay. Finish off these leaves and then I will let you do the second one on your own. Like some fuzz hanging on there. Our weather is finally starting to cool down around here. We're in like the 70s and it is making me want to make soup. It's like not cold enough for soup, but anytime the weather starts to cool down, I'm like, I'm ready. My dad, all growing up, used to make homemade noodles for chicken noodle soup. And I have like half of a rotisserie chicken. And so I really feel like making his noodles and doing chicken noodle soup for dinner. I've never made my own noodles though. So we will see if I do it. It sounds good. Okay, 2 more. Okay, now remember, wherever you started, there's going to be a knot. So just make sure you hold that out of the way so you don't try to put your needle through it. Once it's out of the way, it's usually like moved out of the way, so other stitches going into that same spot won't have as big of a problem, but you might need to like hold it out of the way for a couple of these stitches. Last one. I think I grabbed the knot. Oh. Hold on. There we go. This side is where the knot got pushed to, and now I'm having to move it for each one of these. Last stitch. Okay. That one got a little bit crazy. Okay. All right. That's it. She's very cute. So do this one and then go to the other side of the hoop and do the other one. And then we'll be ready for tomorrow. I was trying to remember what else I had on the list to teach this week because I couldn't remember when I sat down today. I think we might do, what's today, Wednesday? Okay, so we will do probably this branch here tomorrow, not these little ones next to it, just this one. And then we will do these like red orange leaves on Friday. So, okay, let me know if you have questions and I will see you back tomorrow. Bye.